Hi, I'm Dick Knoebel, and I want to welcome you to this beautiful Memorial Day here at Knoebel's. We certainly hope you have a wonderful time. As before we begin today, we will all take a moment of silence to recognize those who have passed in our service of our country. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you all today as we come together in remembrance and in tribute to some of our nation's finest and bravest. There's always a conversation that picks up in our schools, our workplaces, and our communities prior to our military and veteran-centered holidays such as Memorial Day. Almost 150 years ago, President Abraham Lincoln stood before a war-weary nation and uttered the most famous words ever said about veterans. Lincoln spoke of the sacred obligation of our nation to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow, and for his orphan. Those words are inscribed in the entrance above the Department of Veterans Affairs in our nation's capital and spoken at almost every Memorial Day or Veterans Day event. But we know that honoring our veterans with words alone falls terribly short if we do not bring these words to life by honoring them equally with deeds worthy of their sacrifice. When we all walk away from this place in a few hours, when the weekend is over, and all the flags come down off the lampposts, we need to ask ourselves, what more can we do to honor their legacy? How can we give them something more than a ceremony and a moment's gratitude? For some, particularly our Vietnam-era veterans, honor and respect for their deeds may be all they ask. And so public ceremonies providing recognition of their service are essential. But we have both the power and obligation to do more for our veterans and for their families and survivors. On this solemn day, we must recommit ourselves to standing up for veterans. We must never stop fighting for veterans. They never stopped fighting for us, sacrificing for us, and so many gave their last dying breath for us. It is up to us now to honor those still with us and the survivors of those who have passed by fulfilling the nation's promise to our protectors, our military veterans. Knoebel's has always honored the active duty men and women of the military by offering them a day to enjoy the park. The Knoebel family began this tradition since Knoebel's was opened following World War II. Through every war or conflict since, it's open to all active duty veterans.
Hi, my name is Leanna, and I'm Dick's sister, and I'm the youngest of this generation. This is a day that's been set aside for us to recognize and be humbled by the tremendous courage shown by all our servicemen. So many times we take the freedoms that they have given us for granted. Ask yourself, where would you be without the sacrifices made by these men and women? As a child, Memorial Day was always celebrated on the 30th of May each year. It meant for me a day off school, often in the middle of the week. It was the opening of Knoebel's swimming pool for the season, and it was my cousin's birthday, which meant cake and ice cream for dinner. It wasn't until I was a bit older when I began to realize the true meaning of this day. Unfortunately, there are still some who view this day as nothing more than the beginning of the summer season. It brings them a day off for a 3-day weekend. Recently, however, the media has made us more cognizant of the true meaning of the day. There have been many events featured on the television and radio and the social media in the past few years to help us to recognize the importance of this day. Unfortunately, as Dick said, once this day is all over and the flags and the bunting come down, many will return to work or school tomorrow. Let us try to keep the thoughts of this day front and foremost in our minds, so that we may continue to live in freedom as spelled out in the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence. Remember, freedom isn't free. Thank you.
And I am Buddy Knoebel, the middle child. I am reminded of a far greater speaker than I, who spoke these words when he humbly said, But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it, far above our poor power to add or detract. Of course, this was spoken by Abraham Lincoln in 1863 as part of the Gettysburg Address. This is the day the United States of America sets aside each year to honor these men and women who serve and in some cases have died so that we might live in this nation that we call the land of the free and the home of the brave. We must remember that Memorial Day is not just about what happened in the past. We must also pledge a promise for the future, that we will never forget what these men and women have done for us. It is the ultimate example of paying it forward. I close with another quotation from another American president, this time Ronald Reagan. He said, "If we ever forget that we are one nation under God, then we are a nation gone under."